Through the chair, Mr. President, that Mr. Rucker has 5 minutes.
Ernest Rucker Paterson and all behind. First, let me say to this city council, thank you for this opportunity. There is a citywide boycott taking place through social media, flyers, on Mr. Keith Baldeo Sirrano. Mr. Sirrano has proven to us in our community, especially the black community, during Black History Month. On his page, on February the 4th, he wrote, Black History Month note, states, I guess she's referring to the Federate states, should not have to apologize for slavery or the work and payments to such slaves. This was done on his timeline on February 4th. This is just one incident of Mr. Sirrano's disrespect for the black community. He began with attacking the pastor's workshop, black ministers, our churches. He attacks us if we have a religion or a Christian belief that is not coinciding with his. He went to the Marty Barnes viewing of the body and insulted that family and had to be removed from the viewing. And Mr. President has a letter that he'll be reading from the son of Marty Barnes. Mr. Sirrano has wrapped himself up in the First Amendment. He's been here for 7 years, and he's used the First Amendment, his right as a journalist and his religion, to attack and assault verbally on any and everyone that comes in his way. He takes our city leaders to court because they disagree with him. He will sue you if he believes that you're against his views. It is time that we stop allowing carpetbaggers to come into our city and do as they please without any recourse. There is a very fine line between reporting and being sinister. Mr. Sirrano has crossed that line. Mr. Sirrano, who hails from New York City and other parts of the country, was born in 1965. For the last 7 years, there was rumors, and there was also a couple articles written by the Passaic County Post concerning Mr. Sirrano's history. He seems to like to dig into our histories. But let me note, this has been rumor. But knowing Mr. Sirrano as I know him, I cannot imagine him not coming to this podium and clearing this up. The pornography history that was listed in that article troubles me. For any man to claim to be a Christian, being born in the light of God, to have a history that he knows or should know, if this is him, does not give him the right to be the moral voice for the city of Paterson. I am urging all citizens of this city to take your time and think about any type of involvement with Mr. Sirrano. We want to blackball him from all black events. Any man to make a statement that he made on February 5th is a racist. There's no other way to go around this statement on Black History Month, the month after Martin Luther King, and the actions that he's done in this town in reflection to the black community gives me concern of his intentions. Mr. Sirrano has made it his business to attack people's families. He's made it his business to take part of the truth and mold it into whatever he wants it to be. I understand as elected officials, you cannot take a position on this. But as citizens of the city and God-fearing men, you do have the right not to participate with a sore such as Sirrano. And in closing, and this may be harsh to many, but since Mr. Sirrano has wrapped himself in the religious garbs of Christianity, after his actions over the last 5 years, 7 years that I've known him, the dirty, disgusting attacks, I believe he was not born a child of God. I believe he was conceived in the bowels of a jackal. I believe that he is a demon of great proportions. I have never, in closing, I have never experienced an individual like Mr. Sirrano before in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rucker. I want to acknowledge receipt of correspondence that I received from, as Mr. Rucker stated, Marcus A. Barnes, the son of the late and lamented former mayor, Martin G. Barnes. I will read at this time what he has requested that I read, Madam Clerk, as far as addressing this to the entire municipal council. And it states as follows: I, Marcus A. Barnes, am writing this letter to address a topic on the docket this evening. I apologize I cannot be there in person. I have a family obligation. The issue regarding Sirrano Keith Baldeo and the tabloid New Jersey Pulse. I had a less than pleasant experience with New Jersey Pulse at my father's, former mayor Martin G. Barnes' wake, January 3rd of this year. Mr. Baldeo invited himself to cover my father's wake and did so from the beginning of the viewing. 2 hours into the viewing, I had a friend of the family, Eric Zimmerman, ask Mr. Baldeo to hold off on any further pictures until the start of the program scheduled for later that evening. At that moment, my mother, Diane, was being helped in the back room to rest, and my brother, Greg, along with other family members, began to get emotional. I thought it was in bad taste to photograph people in such a vulnerable state. Mr. Baldeo disagreed and confronted my brother. Hearing the barrage of questions addressed to my brother, I stepped in and informed Mr. Baldeo that I made the request and explained my reasons why. He emphatically disagreed, and then the conversation quickly changed from a convincing plea to allow him to continue to an onslaught of him faulting my perception. I finally asked him to please respect my wishes, and he did not. At that point, I abruptly ended the conversation by asking that he leave altogether. Prior to this, Mr. Baldeo and the Barnes family had only positive interactions. I believe the untimely and ill-mannered protest to the request was not a personal matter. It's my opinion that the willingness to do or say anything to get a story came into play. This concerns me because the lack of tact and the inability to assess a situation could provoke a negative reaction in the future. Yes, this may add flair to the story, but it begins to distance itself from true journalism. The third-party objective presentation of the facts begins to be a first-party influence on the events. In my personal opinion, that has no benefits to its readers. Thank you for allowing this story to be told. Warm regards, Marcus A. Barnes. Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Yes, Mr.